The Tale of Princess Kaguya by Hisao Takahata. Again, I told you there was a retrospective about him this year. This boggles the mind. This just blows me away. I cannot... the more I think about this, the more I ponder about any of this, the more my mind is just perplexed and can't come into terms with the idea that somebody one day showed up at the office and said, "Hey, you know what's a good idea? We should do an expensive, ambitious fantasy period drama spanning through multiple acts, and we should make it entirely animated. All 137 minutes of it entirely animated." And we are not just talking about any old animation style, any so-and-so CGI, any so-and-so toom boom harmony nonsense. No. This is Studio Ghibli we are talking about. This is a Studio Ghibli film, which means that basically two things would happen. One, this would be a consistently well animated film. As you know, the studio has a reputation to maintain, and they have a penchant for high quality products. So it's top-notch animation from start to finish. And this also means, again, being Studio Ghibli, it's all going to be painstakingly hand-drawn. Pen or pencil to paper, hand-drawn animation. Again, all 137 minutes of it. And to top it all off, this is not even going to be the traditional aesthetics of Studio Ghibli that we all know and love. No, this film is going to sport its own unique style, developed specifically for itself, based off of classic Edo period paintings and charcoal hand-drawns. On top of even that, this might actually be the most naturalistic, complex, and well-rounded animation that the studio has ever put out. So to summarize, it's a 137 minutes fantasy period drama, hand-drawn, entirely hand-drawn, and with the most expensive animation that a combination of money, talent, and divine patience can provide. Like I said, this boggles the mind. The existence of the Tale of Princess Kaguya should not be actuable. It should not be an economically viable alternative to mainstream CGI Disney films. It should not actually be an economically viable idea, period, in today's modern age. This film, by the way, came out in 2013, so even back then, it's not long ago. And it was the last film by Takahata, which is admittedly, quite the legacy to leave for yourself to the world. So, keeping all of these facts in mind, keeping all of these notions in mind, it sure would have been catastrophic if such an ambitious and no doubt expensive, painstakingly, lovingly crafted and put together epic would actually turn out not to be any good. That would certainly be tragic. By the way, there is no punchline to this. I really love this film. It's really, really good. A bit of anti-humor there. Okay, so I said that it is good, and yes, I find it good. But there are a few elements to consider. There are a few asterisks attached to that qualification as good, because as good as it is, and as good as I think it is, this film is really not all that marketable outside of Japan. For starters, it's about a distinguishably Japanese folkloristic myth. Again, the tale of Princess Kaguya, it's something unique to Japanese folklore, and that in itself should not be an obstacle, especially for someone as renowned as Studio Ghibli. If anybody can connect with audiences worldwide with a story that's uniquely part of their territory, of their history, that's Studio Ghibli. Unfortunately, like I said, this film is 2 hours and 17 minutes long, spanning through multiple acts. They didn't cut anything from the looks of it, so it is full of moments in which the pacing drops dead, crawls to a halt. And while I will tell you that that's not necessarily a bad thing in this particular film, that the animation and the characters in it are so strong and well defined that they are able to carry the entire disproportionate length of this film to its logical conclusion, I will be able to tell you that because the animation was so good in carrying this film on its own, there was never a moment in which I felt bored. Even with as many dull moments, well, dull is a mean word, let's just say the more introspectively paced moments of the film, even those were never a dull experience for me, because, as I said, the aesthetics and the quality of it, the scale, the sheer scale and ambition of it all carries the film in spite of the artistic decisions that were made concerning its plotting and pacing and theming and all of that. However, that does not apply to a more general audience, because a general audience, one that is not aware of the sheer Herculean magnitude of the effort that was put in such a film, would be more inclined to dismiss or not to have the patience to sit through it. I know that if I were to be 10 years younger, I would not have the patience to sit through this film. I have a unique appreciation of it that's derived from my own perspective of the animation business and meta-knowledge, if you will. But I will be the first to admit that such a film is not a recommendable experience to a more general audience for the reasons I've already talked to you about. Regardless, I still think that for any true fans of animation, for any connoisseurs, specifically of Studio Ghibli, this film is a must-see. It's not just the last film by Isao Takahata, it's also probably one of the most ambitious, traditionally animated films of all time. Seriously, it is such a miraculous, incomprehensible notion that this film exists. All it takes is one look for me to say that if this film were not to be successful, well, let's just say it could not have afforded to be unsuccessful. Let's leave it at that. Come to think of it, Studio Ghibli isn't doing so well as of late, but speculation aside, this is a must-see. However, be aware of its uniquely introspective pacing and its obsession in keeping everything at all costs. And I can understand and support the decision, considering that everything in this film, at any given moment, it is so ridiculously well animated. There is an entire section of the film entirely dedicated to show us realistic baby movements, as in a toddler moving around, and it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Is it necessary? Probably not. Is it a showcase of talent, sheer talent and dedication? Oh, absolutely. Is it completely gratuitous and virtuosistic? Probably yes. Is it not good? No. It's great. And I admire and respect the absolute heck out of this film existing. Even though I might be one of the only few people in the world who can really appreciate it. Well, my journey through this festival continues. It is far from over, and as you can tell, my hair has also been on a journey of its own. Pray for my scalp. It's hot around here. Well then, good night.